Hey everyone, it's Abby. Today I wanted to continue with part 2 of the Bridgerton dress. It's inspired by a dress that Philippa Featherington wears to the final ball. In the last video, we left off with having sewn up the top of the bodice and prepping the skirt parts for attaching them together. I had forgotten that I had wanted to add piping to the bodice, so I'm going to have to seam rip the whole bodice and add piping. So let's see what's next. I realized that I wanted piping along the whole bodice top section that I had previously sewn up, so I seam ripped that off camera. I cut green bias strips and sewed those together. I get out my butcher's twine and use my zipper foot and machine sew a strip of piping up. I pinned piping along the bodice top and used the zipper foot again. I machine sew the piping to the bodice. I pinned the lining in place again, and I machine sew that up as well. I understitch along the top of the bodice. I basted the back of the bodice up with the machine. I clipped the curves. I pressed the top edge of the bodice. I place the piece I cut for the back of the bodice to measure the correct size, and press. I also press under the edge by 1/2 inch. I pin that in place. This will be the overlapping button placket. I cut one side of the lace skirt seam. I pin the flat felled seam to the lace skirt. I hand flat fell the lace skirt seam down. I fold the hem of the green skirt under by 1/2 inch and pin. I hand whip stitch the hem in place. Now that both skirt pieces are prepped, I need to attach them, which means it's time to line them up. I line up the lace with the bottom hem of the green skirt. I want it to match up as much as I can. I pinned around the whole waist of the skirt. I pinned the button placket just to the lining and I hand whip stitch that in place. I pinned the skirt placket up as well. I hand basted the waist of the skirt off camera. I hand sewed the placket up. I place flowers where I think they will work all over the front of the bodice. I start hand sewing the flowers on using the beads and sequins that I removed from all the seams previously. There are a lot of flowers to sew on, a lot of hand sewing. I place 2 machine gathering threads at the top of each of my puffed sleeve pieces, also along the cuff side of the green part. I machine sew 2 gathering threads along the back waistline of both back skirt pieces. I've gotten the flowers on the bodice all attached. I hand attach dark pink flowers to the edge of the lace skirt. I measured my bicep and cut a piece of green fabric to bind the edge of the cuff. I place pins and attach the binding to the green cuff. I gather the cuff and pin in place. I machine sew the cuff binding. I clip the cuff binding to 1/4 inch. I sew up the edges of the sleeve. I clip the seam. And hand fell it in place. I gather the edges of the lace sleeve. I sew those pieces together. I cut and hand fell the lace seam. I hand gather the lace cuff part, leaving about an inch-ish hanging below. I place the gathers and pin in place. I hand sew the lace cuff to the green cuff. I fold the green cuff binding to hide the raw edges and pin in place. I hand sew the green cuff binding in place. I test flower placement along the edge of the sleeve cuff. I hand sew the flowers onto the cuff. I gather and pin the sleeve to the outer bodice. I previously marked the seam lines along the bodice with pencil. Now I follow those lines and hand double backstitch the sleeves on. I gather and pin the skirt waist to the outer bodice waist. I hand sew the waist seam using a doubled thread and a double backstitch. I clip the waist seam down. I hand overcast that seam. I clip the sleeve seam, and I hand overcast that seam as well. I'm so close to being done. I pin the top of the belt in place along the waist of the dress. I hand invisible stitch along the belt. I pin and stitch the bottom of the belt as well. I pin the lining to the waistline. I clip and pin the lining to the sleeve as well. I hand whip stitch the lining in place. I want to create covered buttons for this, so I cut circles of green and the pink and layer them together. I fold the edges under and run a gathering stitch around the whole edge. I place the button in the center and I gather the circle up. I stitch that in place at the back. I've placed pins where my buttonholes will go. I start the buttonhole with a seam ripper and use scissors to finish it up. I hand stitch the buttonhole with pink thread. I placed a pin where the button goes, then I place and hand sew the button on. I hand sew a hook and eye to the waistband to keep it in place. And there we have it, a completed Bridgerton dress. Thank you for joining me today as I finished sewing up my Bridgerton-inspired dress. I'm so happy with how it turned out. I feel so pretty and flowery in it. I can't wait to have an event to wear this to. if I don't have one soon, I may just run off and do a photo shoot of it at least. So keep an eye out for the full outfit reveal. I also will be making a matching reticule. I'll have that video coming soon. If you liked this video and want to see more costume and sewing videos, remember to subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Happy sewing!